Lesson 2. Preview. Focus on the main idea. Communities began to develop during the Stone Age. Places. Skara Brae. Vocabulary. Technology. Domesticate. Harvest. Excavation site. Agriculture. Surplus. Nomad. Social division. Climate. Carbon dating. Terms. Stone Age. Old Stone Age. New Stone Age. Early farmers. You are there. The air is close. The stone ceiling seems so low that you feel as though you should crawl. The ceiling, together with the stone walls, forms a covered walkway linking 8 Stone Age dwellings. You move from house to house, noting that one is much like another. Each has a large square room with a central fireplace. The beds on either side have mattresses made of straw and blankets of sheepskin or deerskin. A dresser with shelves stands along the wall opposite the doorway. All the furniture, cupboards, dressers, even beds, is made of stone. Sand dunes buried this village of Skara Brae in northern Scotland more than 4,500 years ago. Only uncovered in the 1800s, it offers many clues about Stone Age life to archaeologists. Target skill. Sequence. While you read, keep events in their correct time order. The Stone Age. When archaeologists uncover artifacts like those at Skara Brae, they try to group together artifacts and events in prehistoric times. For example, they study the physical conditions of Earth to determine the dates of the Ice Age. Archaeologists also group artifacts from a period of time called the Stone Age. During the Stone Age, humans relied primarily on stone tools. In certain regions, humans also made weapons and tools out of wood, bone, or antlers. The Stone Age covers a vast amount of time. Archaeologists divide this time into 2 contrasting periods. The greater length of time, the Old Stone Age, lasted from about 3.5 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. Although this is a lot of time, little progress was made. Technology, or the way in which humans produce the items they use, improved at a slow rate. Today, think about how fast technology has changed in your lifetime. During the Old Stone Age, humans relied on pebble or stone tools, as well as hand axes. Rough, pitted surfaces and uneven cutting edges characterize tools made during the Old Stone Age. As the Stone Age progressed, humans began to use wood, horn, antler, and bone tools. These materials could be worked only with the aid of harder rock tools. Bone proved to be a particularly useful material for barbed fishhooks, needles, and small leatherworking instruments. The New Stone Age began roughly 10,000 years ago and lasted until about 5,000 years ago. During the New Stone Age, humans made great improvements in technology in a shorter time span. The beginning of the New Stone Age was marked by new techniques in stoneworking. Polished rock tools then came into widespread use. When the last of the glaciers retreated at the end of the Ice Age, humans began to experiment with growing wild plants as food crops. At the same time, humans began to domesticate or tame wild animals. The New Stone Age ended when humans discovered metals and metalworking. Review. How do archaeologists group together the artifacts they find? Summarize. Early farming. As archaeologists examine a site, they are careful to look for any signs of plant life. From their studies, we know that grains, wheat, rice, barley, and so on, were among the first plants to be domesticated or cultivated for human use. Plant remains may also tell us how plants were domesticated. For example, wild einkorn, a type of wheat, breaks easily and releases seeds into the wind. This helps the wild plant spread seeds easily. However, it is more difficult to harvest or gather wild plants because the seeds scatter too much. As a result, people selected plants to grow that would not lose their seeds when harvested. Plant remains and tools of domesticating crops can be found at an excavation site where archaeologists dig up artifacts. These artifacts tell us about ancient grain processing techniques. Plants were grown for food and for practical use. For instance, jute, a wild plant, was domesticated because its stalks had strong fibers. These fibers were then used to make rope and fishing nets. Review. Why do archaeologists study plant remains? Main idea and details. Then and now. New crop development. Domestication of plants did not stop after the Stone Age ended. For example, about 200 years ago, farmers domesticated the sugar beet, a sugar-yielding plant. Less than 100 years ago, farmers domesticated the mint plant for use in teas, flavorings, and beauty products. Today, dozens of plants are being considered for domestication. In the United States, domesticating native plum trees may provide Kansas farmers an additional cash crop. Some crops that have been domesticated for years are being studied for new uses. Domestic animals. About 10,000 years ago, humans began to recognize that animals could be useful to them. They began to domesticate dogs, goats, cattle, and sheep. Domesticated animals differ from wild animals in several ways. Their survival depends on humans, and they develop traits that are not found in the wild. Sheep and goats were among the first animals to be domesticated. Later, people realized that animals could also be kept to produce milk and wool. These byproducts could then be sold. Cattle provided meat for food and skin for clothing and shelter. Animals were also used to plow fields. In this way, cattle made a great contribution to the development of agriculture, or the raising of plants and animals for human use. One family could now raise more crops than they needed and sell the surplus, or the extra supply. Review. How did the domestication of some animals affect agriculture? Cause and effect. More useful creatures. The domestication of animals developed over time. People soon realized that animals could meet many of their needs. Early domesticated horses provided meat and skin. Later, they were used for transportation for nomads, or people who traveled from place to place. Donkeys and camels provided additional ways to move both people and goods. These animals helped people travel great distances, carrying goods to other communities. People have even domesticated insects. Because they liked honey, humans domesticated honeybees sometime between 40,000 and 10,000 years ago. Bees also provided wax for candles and bee venom for medicine. The silkworm, a source of fiber for silk cloth, was domesticated about 5,000 years ago in China. Review. How did early humans decide what animals to domesticate? Draw conclusions. Life. About 2400 BC, the people living in Skara Brae, the place you visited at the beginning of the lesson, left the village. Archaeologists believe that a terrible storm came and forced them to leave quickly. They did not even have enough time to take along their belongings. Archaeologists have pieced together what village life was like from the objects the villagers left behind. Along with farming and domestication of animals came village life. Skara Brae was in many ways a typical Stone Age village. It housed about 50 people. People used tools made from stone, beach pebbles, and bone. They raised sheep and cattle. They also farmed. Villagers used their location at the seashore to harvest fish and shellfish. They decorated their flat-bottomed pottery. Farmers and herders, the village's food producers, raised surplus food. Because of the surplus, the village could divide up the work, forming social divisions. A tool maker could make tools in exchange for food. Farmers could exchange surplus crops for meat or sheepskins. This change of lifestyle, from hunting and gathering to farming, led people to a new stage of development. Review. What led to the development of social divisions? Main idea and details.